The United States and Iran stand at a crossroads, a pivotal moment that could redefine their relationship for generations to come. Decades of mistrust and animosity have created a volatile situation, one fraught with complexities and historical grievances. This already tense relationship is further complicated by Iran's nuclear ambitions, which have been a focal point of international scrutiny and concern. The specter of a nuclear-armed Iran has sparked global concern, raising alarms about regional stability and the potential for a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. These fears have prompted renewed diplomatic efforts to resolve the issue peacefully, with the hope that dialogue can succeed where confrontation has failed. These negotiations represent a critical opportunity to avert a catastrophic conflict and chart a new course for the future, one that prioritizes diplomacy over aggression. The historical backdrop of U.S.-Iran relations is essential to understanding the current impasse, as past events continue to influence present-day policies and perceptions. The 1953 coup, orchestrated by the CIA, which overthrew the democratically elected Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, cast a long shadow over bilateral relations, sowing seeds of distrust that persist to this day. This event, coupled with the subsequent support for the Shah's authoritarian regime, fueled anti-American sentiment in Iran, a sentiment that was further inflamed by the Shah's oppressive policies. The 1979 Islamic Revolution and the subsequent hostage crisis, where 52 American diplomats and citizens were held hostage for 444 days, further deepened the rift between the two nations, creating a legacy of enmity and suspicion. Years of sanctions and diplomatic isolation have taken a toll on Iran's economy and its people, leading to widespread economic hardship and social unrest. The Iranian government, however, remains defiant, viewing the U.S. and its allies with deep suspicion, and often framing their stance as a defense of national sovereignty and dignity. This climate of mistrust poses a significant challenge to the ongoing nuclear negotiations, demanding patience, pragmatism, and a willingness to address the legitimate concerns of both sides. The path to a successful agreement is fraught with obstacles, requiring both sides to make difficult concessions and to build a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. The stakes are undeniably high, with the potential for both unprecedented progress and devastating consequences. The outcome of these talks could reshape the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East and set a precedent for future international diplomacy. The international community watches with bated breath, hoping for a diplomatic breakthrough that will usher in a new era of peace and stability in the Middle East and beyond, a resolution that could serve as a beacon of hope in a world often divided by conflict and mistrust. The specter of military intervention looms large over the negotiations, casting a shadow that threatens to plunge the region into chaos. The use of force, however, would be a catastrophic mistake, leading to unpredictable and potentially disastrous consequences. The devastation would be immediate and far-reaching, affecting countless innocent lives. A military strike against Iran's nuclear facilities would not only result in significant civilian casualties, but also ignite a regional conflagration, further destabilizing an already volatile region. The ripple effects would be felt across borders, drawing neighboring countries into the conflict. The human cost of such a conflict is simply too high to contemplate. Hospitals would be overwhelmed, families torn apart, and communities shattered beyond repair. Beyond the immediate casualties, a wider war would have devastating long-term effects on the lives of millions in the region and beyond. Refugee crises would escalate, with countless people forced to flee their homes, seeking safety and stability elsewhere. The global economy, already grappling with interconnected crises, would be thrown into turmoil, with energy prices skyrocketing and supply chains disrupted. The economic shockwaves would be felt worldwide, affecting everything from food availability to financial markets. Moreover, a military strike would likely prove counterproductive in achieving its stated goal of preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Instead of halting progress, it could accelerate efforts, pushing the program further underground and making it harder to monitor. Far from crippling Iran's nuclear program, an attack would likely strengthen the regime's resolve to develop a nuclear deterrent. The sense of threat and urgency would only bolster their determination. It would also galvanize anti-Western sentiment, making future diplomatic efforts even more challenging. The backlash could lead to increased hostility and a hardening of positions on both sides. The only viable path forward lies in diplomacy. Through dialogue and negotiation, there is a chance to find common ground, and build a framework for lasting peace. While the negotiations are fraught with challenges, they offer the best hope of achieving a peaceful and lasting solution to the Iranian nuclear issue. Patience, persistence, and a willingness to compromise are essential. The international community must remain united in its support for a diplomatic resolution, urging both sides to engage in good faith and demonstrate the necessary flexibility to reach a mutually acceptable agreement. Only through collective effort and shared commitment can we avert a crisis and secure a safer future for all. The international community has voiced grave concerns about Iran's nuclear program, recognizing the profound implications for global security and stability. A nuclear-armed Iran would destabilize the Middle East, sparking a regional arms race and increasing the risk of nuclear proliferation. The potential for miscalculation and escalation would rise dramatically in a nuclear-armed Middle East. Long-standing tensions between Iran and its neighbors, particularly Israel and Saudi Arabia, could easily spiral out of control, with catastrophic consequences. The risk of nuclear terrorism would also increase, as non-state actors seek to acquire these deadly weapons. Beyond the Middle East, Iran's acquisition of nuclear weapons would undermine the global non-proliferation regime, enshrined in the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT. This treaty, signed by over 190 countries, aims to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons and promote cooperation in the peaceful uses of nuclear energy. Iran's violation of the NPT would set a dangerous precedent, encouraging other states to pursue their own nuclear ambitions. The international community has a shared responsibility to uphold the NPT and prevent a cascade of nuclear proliferation that would threaten global peace and security. The failure of negotiations would have severe consequences for Iran. The stakes are incredibly high, and the ramifications of a breakdown in talks could be felt for years to come. The crippling economic sanctions imposed by the United States and its allies would remain in place, further isolating Iran from the global economy. These sanctions have already created a significant barrier to international trade and investment, making it difficult for Iran to engage with the rest of the world. These sanctions have already taken a heavy toll on the Iranian people, leading to widespread shortages of essential goods and services. Everyday items that many take for granted have become scarce, and the struggle to obtain basic necessities has become a daily reality for many Iranians. The Iranian economy, already struggling under the weight of mismanagement and corruption, would face further decline. Businesses would continue to close, and the economic landscape would become even more challenging for entrepreneurs and workers alike. The value of the Iranian rial would likely plummet, exacerbating inflation and eroding the purchasing power of ordinary Iranians. This devaluation would make it increasingly difficult for families to afford everyday goods, pushing many into deeper financial hardship. Unemployment would soar, leading to social unrest and political instability. The lack of job opportunities would drive many to the streets in protest, demanding change and accountability from their leaders. The Iranian government's ability to provide basic services to its citizens would be severely compromised. Public services, already under strain, would deteriorate further, leaving many without access to essential support. Healthcare, education, and infrastructure would all suffer, further undermining the quality of life for millions of Iranians. Hospitals would become overcrowded, schools would fall into disrepair, and infrastructure would continue to crumble. The humanitarian crisis, already unfolding within Iran's borders, would deepen, leaving the most vulnerable segments of society struggling to survive. Children, the elderly, and the impoverished would bear the brunt of these hardships. Moreover, the international community would likely impose additional sanctions, further tightening the noose around the Iranian economy. Each new sanction would add another layer of difficulty for Iran, making recovery seem increasingly out of reach. The pressure on Iran to abandon its nuclear ambitions would intensify, but so too would the risk of miscalculation and conflict. The stakes are high, and the potential for a dangerous escalation cannot be ignored.